the same process that we did with CBD. So we start by going out and identifying those markets, developing those markets, and understanding what kind of relationships we can make. I mean, I know Mike's got a great relationship with Dr. Bronner's. They've certainly led the way in that industry. So the more sort of aftermarket companies we can build relationships like that with to do something with these byproducts is just going to continue to support, our overall objective, which is to build value into the supply chain for farmers.
Yeah. I interviewed David Bronner about 3 years ago, actually, and what they're doing with hemp, and they've sort of been leading the way long before hemp legislation was even a twinkle in anyone's eye. But I imagine that they'd be a great buyer. But are there other companies? I mean, it seems like it's not caught on yet.
Proven the model, right? So, and there is other companies out there making products with hemp now, probably in large part because of them. But, we just need to keep proving that the proof of concept works with hemp across the board. And, we'll drive more companies in that direction through supply and demand.
Yeah. And I think tapping into the organic market, the people who are producing organic products, is a great place to start for the supply chain because of the way that hemp can be grown so much more efficiently than any other crop, particularly cotton. So I heard recently that Levi's is actually going back to hemp for their jeans. Have you heard this?
I read an article about it. It came through my feed. I hope that it's not viscose, but I guess we'll take a small victory if that's what it is.
Yeah, well, I think every small victory is a good thing. So, yeah. Let me ask you something really quickly because I just thought of it as you said that. There seems to have been some mishaps in Oregon that I heard about through the grapevine about people buying what they thought were feminized seeds that turned out not to be that, and they've lost a lot of money. Do you know anything about this?
My understanding, if you're talking about the same thing, is that it's an Oregon seed company, but it's a Kentucky issue in terms of the company that bought those seeds, and I won't name names. But it seems like there were some promises made by a seed company and some seed ended up in Kentucky and it was not what was represented. At least that's the allegation.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think that's pretty common. I mean, it's pretty commonplace either there or, either on the seed side. I think this was just a much larger scale, but I mean, we see a lot of that, people getting bad genetics on a smaller scale and, it's just less high profile, but it seems like it's pretty prevalent.
And for farmers who are just getting into this, how do they avoid this? How can they ensure that what they're getting is what they've been told they're getting?
Well, that's hard because there's a lot of fake C of A's. But I mean, my best advice would be if it sounds too good to be true, move on. But I mean, you just have to do due diligence. You have to read the C of A's. You need to check with the breeder. You need there's a lot of due diligence that's required to make sure that you've got a quality seed that whoever sold it to you had the right to sell it to you, and whether it's a seed or a clone. A lot of folks are buying clones as well.
Yeah, and Mike mentioned this earlier, but we're working directly with Kentucky State University there, and we've for the last 2 seasons planted cultivars with them for research. So make sure when you're buying seeds that you're working with a reputable partner. If they can back it up with not only C of A's but other information or research that's been done around it, that's going to be your best assurance.
Yeah, great advice, I'm sure. So. Anyway, well, are there any last thoughts that you think we haven't covered here that you'd like for people to know? Trent, let's start with you.
No, I'm actually can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, but thank you for your time. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, and we're excited to be exposed out there in the market.
Well, I'm grateful that you were able to come and talk about this. I think it's one of the most important movements that we have going on right now. I mean, cannabis in general, but hemp particularly, especially with the legalization. And I just think the potential is just so enormous to revitalize farming communities and create jobs and create a more sustainable way of doing things in general, getting away from the fossil fuels and the petrochemicals that are used to grow food crops. And the potential is just endless. Mike, what about you? Any last thoughts for us?
Know your farmer. About it.
Know your farmer. I love that.
Know your farmer.
Yeah. Elaborate.
Well, I mean, I think that we're, socially we're disconnected, from the land. I think dispossession is a very real thing. And I think that if you know your farmer, that means you're getting a little closer to the land, and that helps you see things a little more clearly, in my opinion. So if you know your farmer, you at least know a little bit about land and land use.
Yeah. And then the message to farmers, we have a large rural audience here at the Cannabis Reporter because we play throughout the farming belt. And I know that there might be some farmers out there listening who might find this very interesting. What's your primary message to them? Enter
with caution. Know your partners, and don't plant without a contract. I think that's the best advice we could give at this point. Do your homework and
plan.
Work with people you trust.
Yeah, exactly. Certainly. Have a plan. Come to the market with plants, and understand that beyond planting there needs to be a plan for fertigation, for harvest, for where you're going to sell this material, and don't just take the word of somebody on a handshake. Check them out, find out where your product's going to end up. Know where it goes in the market.
Yeah, great advice, I'm sure. So, well, I think it's about time to start wrapping it up. So I just want to say I'm really grateful for both of you coming on to talk about what you know. And I'll make sure that on the article post, when this episode is archived, we'll make sure that there's plenty of information up there so that people know how to find you in case they'd like to look you up. So, yeah. Well, thank you.
No, we really appreciate the opportunity too. So it's great to talk, and it's great to hear your passion for the land and the climate. It's something we need more of. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You are so welcome. I appreciate your being here. Oh, so it is time to bring yet another show to a close. Once again, I'd like to personally thank my guests, Mike Lewis and Trent Paasch, for sharing their insights and knowledge with us today. If you'd like to learn more about the work they're doing at Third Wave Farms, please visit us online at thecannabisreporter.com. Click podcast to find today's episode, and that's where you'll find their bios along with a link to their website. We have so many people to thank. First, I'd like to express our gratitude for our radio partners, Blue Mountain Energy and Canosphere Biotech, for supporting our show. We certainly couldn't be doing this without you. And our media partners at MJ BizCon, Cannabis Radio, and Newsbank for helping us to spread the word. I'd also like to thank my production team here at the Cannabis Reporter radio show for always making us shine. And it goes without saying just how much we appreciate our programming directors at XRQK Radio Network and Society Bites Radio for broadcasting our show. And last but not least, thanks to all of you for listening. I'm Snowden Bishop, inviting you to join me again next week. Same time, same place for another episode of the Cannabis Reporter radio show. Until we meet again, be safe, stay informed, share what you've learned, and make it a great day. Evergreen's calling.